everybody, MTB Trigger here. Today I want to talk about inventory management, specifically setting up your inventory and how to process loot in the most efficient way possible, in my opinion, for beginners, intermediate, and beyond. And our goals are to set it up in a way that maximizes our time in raid, reduces our processing time, all while maximizing efficiency and the layout of your stash space in Escape for Tarkov. So, come with me, let's get into it. Alright, so let's jump into it. Let's start with the stash. And what I want to show you here is actually how to lay out your stash for processing successful scav runs or successful PMC raids where you come out with a lot of stuff. Now, when you're first starting out, if you're a beginner and even into the intermediate stages, you may not have all of the crates that I have. Don't worry about that. The point of this is not to tell you to go buy a bunch of crates. The thing that I want you to focus on is actually how many rows I have available, and I'll show you why. So the first thing that I recommend is take 11 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 rows, and you're going to keep this space completely clear. You're going to do everything in your power not to have stuff here. The hardest time to do this are levels 1 through 4, but the second you hit level 5, you get access to the flea market, and you can begin selling all of that junk you've been collecting. So, just about everything that I say has an exception to it for some point or piece in the game. The exception to the first 11 rows is for the first 4 levels. Until you're level 5, it's extremely hard to keep your stash clear, because you're going to end up holding on to stuff you don't know what everything is. Don't worry about it for that instance. But the reason that I want you to have the first 11 spaces free are because when you get level 5 and you get access to the flea market, when you go to the trading area and you go to flea market and you hit add offer, you'll notice that where I put my crates down here, which again aren't required, but when you get them, this is where I'm going to recommend you put them, they are able to be right-clicked and opened so that I can sell everything from this front page. Okay? So if you leave 12 slots open, you're not going to have easy access to your crates right here. And again, I know it's really easy to scroll, but we're talking about maximizing time in-game, not managing your inventory. So back in your character screen, what you're going to use this space for is very simple. When you get out of a raid or a scav run, you are going to move everything that's in your tactical rig, your pockets, your backpack, anything valuable that you stuffed in your alpha, gamma, kappa container, what have you. And you're just going to control left click as a default everything in those so it chucks them into your stash here. And then once you've emptied everything, you do the same thing with your backpack, your helmet, chest armor, weapons, anything that's in here. Now, once you start getting a little currency, or if you happen to get the items case from the holiday gift that Battle State sent over, I use this items case as extra dumping room, okay? Again, not required. If you have it, use it. But for the most part, anything you loot, even in bigger backpacks and tactical rigs, should mostly fit into this area. Once you get the scav box or a med case, food, drink, that kind of stuff, you're going to be able to throw those things directly into those crates. Now, what I want to show you is how to process loot, because there's a couple things you can do to really minimize the amount of time you're spending in your stash. Because let's say you came out with 20 things to sell, well, that's going to take some time, and our goal is to get you back into raiding or back into scavving or back into the next PMC raid if you're going on with people. The reason I bring all this up is the most common things that you're going to hear in this game when you're playing with other people are, oh, gotta play loot Tetris. Oh, gotta clean my inventory. Oh, what is this worth? Do I need to keep this? You don't need to keep stuff. There is exceptions to this. There are some items that are really hard to find in raid that you need some of. I'm not going to go into those right now because there's plenty of videos on that, and we'll do one at some point. In general, if you find something as a beginner or an intermediate, sell it, because you'll be able to buy it back later as a cheaper price as the wipe goes, you know, as the time moves forward in the setting. Sell it, because as time goes on in this particular split, items tend to get cheaper as more and more people find them. So typically you can buy most things later and you can get more money now for selling them. So the whole, should I keep this, should I not, you're going to figure that stuff as you sell stuff and move through the game. There are certainly items that seem really good and really rare that when you pick them up, you haven't seen them, you examine them, ask the question. But in general, my philosophy is sell it for the economy now so that you can buy it later, or use your economy to make your stash easier for processing. The easier and less time you spend in your stash, the more time you get to play the game and find more loot. That's the whole point. So, I want to show you a successful scav raid and how to process that loot. Alright, so hopefully it's going to take me about 30 minutes to get this, but since I'm trying to get a successful scav raid, it's probably going to take me 2 hours of scav raids to get it, so we'll be right back. Alright, so believe it or not, we actually had a successful run through on the first scav run following the recording of the inventory portion. So here we go. Let me show you how to process the loot. Alright, so we get through. Yeah, we ran through. Our goal was to get loot. Next. Okay, so here's what we ended up with. We ended up finding a Burkett. We've got a bunch of stuff. So here's what I recommend. I'm not going to use any of the cases here just to show how it works. If you do have the cases, again, the reason these are positioned where they are, you can drag stuff into the Scav junk box, you can drag stuff into the med case, and if we ran out of room, we'd have the items case. So here we go. Control, left click spam. Get it all out. There you go. Everything's out. Next. Now we're going to process this as quickly as we can. Before you start figuring out what to keep, what to sell, we're going to identify the things that are most likely to sell quickly, or they're going to give us a good bang for the buck. Prioritizing what we can sell quickly first. So we go to trading. And again, if you're level 5, you're going to go straight to the flea market. If you're not level 5 yet, it's okay to sell some stuff to the dealers, especially in the first 4 levels. There is almost nothing that you can get in the first 4 levels that you're not going to find a bunch of later on, so don't worry about it. Someone's saying, oh, you should keep that for a quest way down the line. No, sell it, make the money now. Even sell it to the dealers, just make sure that you sell it to the right dealer, and I'll show you a quick way to do that. So, we have 3 open spots to sell, so I'm going to look at what's going to give me the best bang for my buck. This is a big backpack, so we're going to keep that. Fuel sells like hotcakes, so we're going to look here. There's a ton of them up here. The cheapest is 60,000, so we're going to go fuel, and we're just going to undercut because we just want to be quick. We want it to sell, and the reason this is the first thing I'm going to do is because I want these things to sell quickly so that I can do one more round of selling before I get back into the raid. So we're going to get 3 things listed really quick. So we put the gas analyzer. And the last thing we'll put up, let's put up the relay. Relay 1199 right now. So we're just undercutting the very first offer. Now, what I do here is in my filters, I say remember selected filter. I set the currency to rubles, and I do condition 0 to 100%. Say OK, and it will remember those settings. That way, when you search an item, it's always going to be in rubles. There won't be trades, and it's going to organize it cheapest to most expensive. So you don't have to do that every single time you come to the flea market. So now we have to wait a minute before things can actually sell. So we're going to get rid of the big stuff first. So I always think about Ragman as the person to sell my clothing to or my bags. So I'm going to go ahead and sell these things to Ragman. Deal. Next thing, if I need rep with Prapor, Peacekeeper, Mechanic, or Skier, I would pick one of those guys because they almost always buy firearm related stuff. In this case, I need rep with Mechanic. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to sell him the ammunition. I'm going to sell him the mags. And I'm going to sell him the gun. Now you could go sell the basic guns on the flea market, but typically you're just going to get a little bit more than you're going to get from the vendors. And again, we're trying to maximize profit and time. So I'm going to sell this here. Now, let's go back to our inventory here. So this is kind of industrial stuff that sells really well. Grenades we can sell. Now we got 2 bolts, so that's going to be a good one to sell really quick. Move our money down here. These keys, I wouldn't worry too much about them because especially if you're new or beginner intermediate, you're really not using a whole lot of keys yet. So I'm looking at these things as not super important unless they have a purple back on them. So let's see if we sold anything. If you right click and go to filter by item, all of our offers sold because we were undercutting. So now we're going to sell our bolts. We're going to do the same thing. Now you'll notice here, there's a 17,000 and 19,000 and a bunch listed in between. If you want to take a little bit of a risk, you can list them somewhere in between there. So let's list them for $15,999. We clicked on both, so it puts both, and it only takes one of our offers. Let's sell this alkali. About 10,000 on that, so let's get that up for just a little bit of undercut, and then we'll sell the helix. Again, we're going for quick sales, quick economy. We're leaving some money on the table, but we're trying to get back into the game. So the last thing I do, I go to trading, go to dealer. I always sell these silver things to fence. It's probably not the best way to go. You can also get some sort of idea of what things are worth based on what they're selling to the vendors, even if it's not the perfect vendor to sell to. So these keys aren't worth a whole lot. The grenade's probably the most expensive thing I have left in my inventory, and the WD-40. So I'm going to go to therapist. I'm going to sell the keys because she usually pays pretty well for the keys. And then if I was really just trying to get out of here and back in, you could sell the rest of this stuff. Now what I would encourage you is if you get to the point of buying the first item that I recommend every player buy, it's about 1.4 million rubles, your lucky scav junk box, the rest of this stuff, throw in here. And then you can put 4 to 10 items every time you run in that junk box, and you're going to be able to sell those once you have 4, 5, 6 of each item. Again, you could spend another 2 minutes here and do 2 more rounds of selling, but we've basically cleared out a majority of this, so the rest is like, okay, do I want this stuff? Do I want to take the grenade into the next raid? Do I need a bandage for the next raid? I got my rubles, which if you have a money case, throw them in there, or if you have a wallet, throw them in there. Otherwise, pick a spot in your inventory down below where you keep your money. And we missed one thing we could have sold to dealers there. So, let's go to trading, dealer, sell. Boom, it's gone. And we did that with 8 minutes left on our scav timer. And we're ready to rock for the next scav run if you're just trying to chain these things together. We got our inventory back clear, ready to rock, and we keep going and going and going. So that's how I recommend that you organize your stash. That's how I recommend you unload and process your loot so that you can get back into the next raid as quickly as possible. And as always, if you like watching this stuff or you have questions on it, you can always catch me on my Twitch channel. I'm live there a few times a week. But as far as this goes, we'll catch you on the next video. If there's something that you're trying to do better in the game or you just don't understand, let me know. We'll make a video about it. Let's see if we can get better together. Talk to you soon.